Merry Christmas! Here I am with my penguin shirt and everything, and it's July. Yay! What can you do? We're a crafter, you know how it goes. So fabulous. It's the first ever time I've hopped on a blog or a Facebook or a YouTube. I haven't hopped. I couldn't hop as a kid. I kept falling over. But hey, there's always a first time. So cool, fabulous. What I would like to share with you was, we're not going to put a whole card together. I thought, what kind of thing would, every year I face the same kind of challenges, and you might face the same ones too. So what we want for Christmas, everybody, the one card that you send every year is the one that people want to be the wow card. And well, it's the Lord has to have glitter. I seriously did not glitter a card one year for my mum. I spent so much time making this card. I was so proud of it, and it didn't have any glitter on it. She never stopped talking about this card into August, that she got a card, it need glitter. Are you going to glitter the next year? Are you going to the next one? She had to put sunglasses on to see it, just saying. But there's challenges that we face. You expect a big wow card. It's the time that we really want to go for it and get a bit over the top, if that's what you want to do. Kind of more is more for these ones, I think. It's the one time of the year for me anyway. So that's a good thing, but it can be time consuming. So I want to know how to make them look amazing but a little bit quicker. And also can be quite pricey. So what can we do to reduce the cost if we can? And just make things just a little bit easier in general. So that's what we're going to look at. And if you have a look, let's have a look at what I've got here, and I'll explain what. It'll be easier to see it than me talking about it. So what I've got here is a card, and I'm in the same process of you. This is not stuck together. These are bits of a card that it looks quite well. We've got, let me show you the components. I've got a centre here with a cottage that's all been stamped and coloured in, a bit of glitter, and it's got a bit of distress ink around the top. Then I have 2 layers, and you know what, when it goes through the die cut machine, I don't know about yours, but it ends up where sometimes it's like curling up on itself with the pressure of it. But we've got a next layer there, which is quite easy. That's not a problem. That bit there is not the thing that cost me the time. It's the colouring in of all this baby here, that outer edge. I think it looks really gorgeous. And I'm going to be doing some cards like this. They'll probably be ones for the close family, really good friends. But if I want to batch make but still make them look wow, we're going to look at what that we can do as well. And even for the family, to make them look a bit quicker, I've got little layers here. I've got little bits of holly. Basically the point I'm making is, there's some ways we're going to go through how we can save some time and still make it look amazing. So let me show you the first one that I was playing with that I could save some time with. And this was just during the Facebook, and it was Maria's idea. Say hello, Maria.
Hello, Maria.
That's Maria. Maria, the ever silent camera woman. So what I was doing, I was showing how to colour this, and then I just was jumping around the outside of the frame, colouring different aspects, and then all of a sudden discovered that, wow, that looks pretty cool. I like these bits here that don't have the colour on them. I think that looks really, when you get a black and white picture and then they focus on one colour, spot colour, whatever. I think that looks excellent. But you know what? Look how much time I've saved. I've stamped it with an ink there. I think I must have used a distress ink. Oh yeah, it's a distress ink, I'm sure. Yeah, it was a distress ink. It sounds very iffy. Just trust me, I do know what I'm talking about further as we go on. It was definitely a distress ink. It was only a couple of days ago, really. And then coloured it in with watercolour product. But to make this look a bit flashier instead of just the card, I don't know if that's picking that up, but I then used a sparkle pen and a little bit of stickles over it. Quick as anything. So much quicker than colouring the whole garland in. And I think that looks just as good as that one. I mean, it's your call, but I really do. That looks great, but I think that looks just as great. And I've saved myself all that extra colouring in time. Then the next thing was, okay, what about the middle? Can we make it look cool in the middle without doing the full-on colouring? I think we can. I'm going to take that one out. And I'm going to bring this one in. This is what we're going to demonstrate in a minute. It's not just going to be me talking, by the way. It's one of my favourite techniques. This is something back in the day when I got certified in New Jersey with Ranger. I don't know how many years ago it was. They don't even do the official educator program anymore. But back in the day, they would have people about, I think it was about 15, 16 people in a room with Tim Holt and Claudine Helmuth and Susie Weinberg, and we basically were taught how to use Ranger products back in the day, like distressing, which is pretty new. So they wanted to make sure people knew how to use them correctly. So, you know, they would accommodate people from all over the globe, and we'd do things like this. And that's stamped with, well, actually, we were stamping them with distress inks at the time. That one was actually stamped with the water-based marker, the Albrecht Dürer Faber-Castell markers, watercolor markers. If you've got water-based markers, you scribble your image and then stamp it and blend it. And believe it or not, that was done with a marker pen. But look at how cool that looks. But again, such a time saver and also money saver. So that's what we're going to do, because I'm going to move on and show you something else. So we've got an option here on the outside. We've got the center. There's another option. You can still pop, you know, your glittery little accents on there if you want. But what we're going to work through now is this third option. I'm going to show you how this is going to look, because it does look pretty cool. I've got, let's say we're going to do a silver base now. So this is optional. You can have it or you don't have to have it. But that's just a bit of mirror card. So there's no time taken there. You're just shoving your die on your thing and running it through. There is expense, so that's an option. You can choose to add it or choose to leave it out. Your call. But this, I just think this looks absolutely gorgeous. Isn't that gorgeous? And yet it's absolutely, thank you, Maria.
You're welcome.
And yet it's one distress ink. Now it's not a new technique, right? This will use the marker in the middle. There's little bits of tips and hints. You can watch my Facebook lives and things to see me doing those ones. But this one is what we're going to do now with a chipped sapphire. Now, there's things we'll talk through as we go and on things that you can do, I think, to make the job a little bit I think it can look better. Like everything, there's little tips and tricks that will power it up for you, and we'll share those as we go through. But basically, I think that looks, it's not plain ball. Oh, you know what? Right, this is, you see, I like to do this without sticking it down, because then you can just keep playing around with it and swapping it out. There you go. That there. Winner, chicken dinner, that's what we're going to play with, and that's what we're going to colour in. And I'm going to talk about some of the money savers. Well, yeah, money savers and time savers as we go on. So let me park this all over here to start with, and let's come to the first time saver for you. Right, this set that I've got here is from my Heartfelt Christmas, new Christmas set this year, but it could be whatever set you've got. I have for a long time, when I've had a die and a stamp combination, done it this way. I cut like the wind. I'll cut all of my card out. I'll cut it out in all the different colours. Look at all these prepared here. Look at this. I've got all of these here all cut out. Just ready to go. All the different colours and backgrounds and ready. They're all just in the box. I've just literally grabbed those from you know, at the side of me. I find it easier to get your die cutter out and just cut, because then you're not getting it out, putting it away, making more space with it. Just batch cut. Then I stamp afterwards, and the way I do it is this. So this bit in the middle is going to come out, because that's where my little cottage or scene is going to go in the centre. Now, a thing to help you with, it's when I've done this, I thought, which way does it go? Which way? It doesn't. None of it looks very heart-like. Maybe put a little pencil arrow there or something, just to say that's that way up for when you go to use it. But that's not coming into play at the minute. This is. Now, these stamps, if another tip is, excuse me, if this is a large kind of image, a stamp you're using, when you have stamps that don't have like a solid centre, they can get a little bit wibbly wobbly when you pick them up, and they can distort. You know, they like like line stamps and things like that. Like this, it can be used in your advantage, because like the streamer, you could pick, well, let's do it. You can take it, pick it up, and you could twist it round. You can have a bit of more fun with it, and it'll stick where you want it to stick in whatever fashion once you stick it to your block. But we don't want the heart to do this because we need to marry that up with that. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to get my ink in a minute, and I'm going to make sure before I ink anything up that I've got my eye in and everything is going to line up nicely. I'm looking around and seeing if there's any bits I need to be aware of, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. It's easier to leave it on the background because I can see if it matches the printed background, it's pretty much in the right place without it being tweaked. So before you start, have a look and sort that out. And what I would suggest is start where there's the biggest kind of area, the wow area that your eye's going to go to. So if there is any little overlap or any little nudge on a line, it won't show in that area. So this is the bit I need to make sure that we get nice and clean and pretty spot on. The rest of it goes a little bit of a tweak somewhere. You can live with that. We can blend it. So that's there ready. Now I'm going to take my distress ink. This is the other thing. For this technique, you need a dark distress ink. Chipped Sapphire is not one of the new kids on the block. It's not as old as Walnut Stain because that was the very first. The whole range was built around the Walnut Stain distress ink pad. Learned that in New Jersey, just saying. But Chipped Sapphire is a gorgeous, I think it's got kind of like a purpley look, gorgeous dark blue. And the reason you want a dark colour when you're doing this is you want to be able to shade the lines, blend the water from the darkest of the tones to the lightest of the tones. So if you start with a pastel, you're really not going to have much contrast at all in that whole thing. So have a dark ink. Even faded jeans is good. You could, if you want to go vintage, you could go something like, Walnut Stain. I prefer Walnut Stain to Vintage Photo for things like that because it tends to be a bit yellowy, the photo. Gathered Twigs is also good for if you want a brownie colour. But anyway, a darker ink. Now, what I'm doing is I've placed that on there, and the worst that's going to happen, you're going to get a bit of ink on your hands. Whoa. That is not new for me, just saying, and probably not for you if you're a stamper. But what you want to do, and what you definitely don't want to do, is lift both hands up at any one time. Always keep at least one hand firmly pressing down on that card so that it's not going to do a wiggle or a shift as you move around, because that's where you're going to get like ghosting or double images. And just take your time and make sure. This is so much quicker still than stamping, putting the die over it, doing a little bit of target practice, taping it down and then putting it through. I just find this so much quicker. Even if you take a little bit more time at this stage. So hopefully we've caught everything there. You're going to know when you do this. Way, look at that. And that's probably more precise than we would have got by doing the other way, to be honest. Everything's as it should be, everything's where I need it to be, and it's all ready to now play with. So I'm going to pop this to one side on these little bits. I'll just pop back there and we'll sort them out later. Next thing you need is a round brush. You need water. I'm seeing water just in shot here. And a piece of kitchen paper. And this is really important because what you're going to do is you're going to start blending this ink here. Now, depending on your card and depending how new or not new your distress ink pad is, you're going to get more or less colour dragging from that line. So this is actually not dragging loads of colour, but that's okay. We're going to add a bit more. So see what I'm doing here? The thing is to know is look at the stamp. If you've got somebody who's lovely like myself who thinks of you when you're doing your project and wants to make it easier for you and put some cross hatching in or hatching, so lines, you see there I've said, look, let's put a shadow on that leaf. Let's have a shadow there. Let's make this one look like it's in shadow because it's behind that one. They're the definite bits to blend with water. You can also get a bit blend happy. Leave some areas where you haven't blended this at all. Leave some bits where it's still just white card. That's all good and fine and dandy too. So I'm continuing like this, just carrying on. blending, and already it's looking more solid, but we really are going to make it pop more by using the ink like a paint next, because you can get so much done like this, but to make it look really well, we really do want to turn up the contrast by painting the ink on as well. So can you see, like underneath this petal there's some hatching, some lines. If you've got a card that allows the paint to stay open and wet longer, you will have more time to play with it than this card is doing. This one's grabbing it a little bit quickly, which means there's less colour releasing. Now you can do this, just should mention at this point as well, with black soot. So black soot is also fab if you want to just go completely monochrome. And then if you want to do a little bit of spot colouring in there, you know, you might have just the holly or part of the image that you want to decoupage colour over the top. That'll look cool too, to mix it up. Be aware that black soot is the trickiest to manage, because you can't get any darker than black, and it can, if your card is leaving the ink wet for a long time, run away with you. So you can end up with something that looks a bit smoke damaged if you get a little bit too you're kind of happy with the water and blend too much, if that makes sense. So a big tip there is try out the bit of scrap card first. See how the ink's working on that bit of scrap card, the same as the one you're going to blend on your finished piece, to see how the ink's moving. If it's moving a lot, what you can do to help yourself, especially if it's black soot, is just give it a quick blast with your heat gun, and that'll set a lot of the colour so that it doesn't run away when you add a bit of water, if that makes sense. So already that's looking quite pretty with it blended there. It's looking a bit more solid, and you could stop there, put a bit of glitter on, jobs are good. But we want to give this a little bit more of a pop, a wow. So I'm going to take my ink and I'm going to splodge it onto my mat, and I'm now going to see how I'm wet the brush, but I've really taken away most of the moisture out of that brush, and I'm going to start thinking, right, what do I want really to pop out here? I want these berries to look like they're strong and shiny and got a highlight to them. So I'm painting the berries, they're popping. So I'm going around and checking out where each one is. Just start around the outside and just leave a little bit in the middle where it looks like you've got a little bit of a shiny, healthy highlight on them. Okay, doesn't matter, you know, where you put it. Sort of, if you can imagine the light shining in one direction and catching them in the same kind of place, it's great, but it doesn't have to be that precise. Oh, a couple of them there hiding. Like that. Nearly missed them, the little tinkers. And I think we've got the berries there. So already that's looking, I think it looks better. What we can do is let's, we don't want the flower, I don't think I want the flower to be too strong in colour, because they're quite delicate, those Christmas rose. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of the dark on some of these leaves, especially where what we're looking at here is varying the contrast. So back in the day, you know, when we just had the old black and white tellies and things, or black and white films, where I think the black and white film shot well is just a work of art in itself, because all they had to think about was the tone, the you know, the shades of grey that were giving it all that interest and beauty. And it's like when you used to go back to school and draw a still life, and you had to just use your one pencil, your graphite pencil. It's kind of like a good thing to keep doing every now and again, even if this is something that you're not particularly, you know, going to maybe even use on a card sometimes. Just do this as a little exercise to work out how, before you add colour on, the tonal kind of contrast, the light and dark in your picture makes a massive difference, and it just simplifies it, you know. And if you're not confident with colour, this is definitely a way to go, because you're just looking at lighter and darker bits and making it look interesting that way. So, you know, there's a basic rule of thumb: if it's behind something, give it a shadow, make it a bit darker. If it's in the front, it can be a bit lighter. That bit there, see, it's got a bit of leaf curling over. So I'm just emphasising that bit there at the bottom. And the twiggy bits, I think I'll make twiggy bits all solid. So all the little bits that are sticking out, I'm going to make the decision and they're all going to be solid and quite strong in colour, I think. We'll do that. Okay, so can you see the difference on that bit to that bit? Just by painting on over the top again with a little bit more ink. What do you think of that, Maria?
Lovely.
Better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gives it dimension, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It makes it, yeah, that's exactly it. I was trying to elaborate on that, but I think you've said it quite succinctly. And doesn't need me waffling it on. And yet I will still continue to do that.
So Sheena, this is something people could do if they're absolute beginners, isn't it?
It's a great thing to do, even if you're an absolute beginner. Think of it like where they used to make you sit with drawing the cactus in a bottle of Chianti or something, you know, or the straw bottle, the wine bottle, always had that with a candle in it, didn't they? Yeah. Think of it as that kind of discipline for you if you're a stamper, because it's teaching you something that you kind of need to know. You need to know about shadow and light and dark and things really before you need to know about colour, in my book, because the colour's like the next stage, the icing on the cake kind of thing. And again, it just shows how cool something can look when you master this, and how inexpensive it is if you're just new as well and you haven't got every colour and every set and every ink and everything that there's out there. Doesn't mean you can't do something that people won't go, wow, she's pretty good, she knows what she's doing. And all you've done is just, you know, used a distress ink and a bit of water. And that's all fabulous. So I'll just continue with that. Nearly done. Keep going. What we'll do when we're finished, we're going to have a look at it. And it's the same thing, exactly the same for the little bird and little bits of holly. If you're a little bit like, whoa, your confidence is waning maybe to start on the full garland, start with one of the little elements, the holly or the little bird, and see how you get on with that before you go full on to the main bit. But at the end of the day as well, you know, you've just used a bit of card. It is important to use a bit of card that doesn't have loads of chalk in it. You'll know. You can't always see when you buy card. I've bought card before when, you know, back in the days when there was lots of craft shops all over the place, and you could go in and, you know, pick the card up and have a look and a feel and think, whoa, that's the very card for me. I'll have all you have, please, of your finest card. And I've gone home with it thinking, brilliant, that's fabulous. It's the right weight, it's nice and smooth, it feels right. And then I've gone to use it with blending it with an ink or with a water-based product, and it's just grabbed. And you think, oh no, what? And then you can't, there's no making the better of it. There is if you keep watching me and I'll show you how to use a bit of glycerin. You can make it better. You know, tune in and just keep looking at me Facebook Live and see me do that. In fact, we'll be using glycerin shortly as well in another way. I'll show you that. But you really ideally want to have the right kind of card that doesn't have loads of chalk, because all the chalk does is grabs the whatever you're painting on top of it or blending on top of it and says, nope, thank you, we've got it, we're fixed, it's not going anywhere for you. Like printer paper, that's like the ultimate chalky card, because it's intended to grab the ink and set it to dry before it smudges all over the place before it comes out your printer. So, you know, that's the ultimate stuff you don't want to use. I'm just going to put a little few dots in the centre of that little Christmas rose, and we'll call that one done, other than bit of bling. So if you want a darker colour, you just basically don't put much water on your brush, and that's it. That's all you're going to do. Now what you can do as well is, if you've gone a bit blend happy, you can get your white gel pen out and add some highlights. You know, so if it's looking a bit like, I haven't got that contrast going on, Douglas was whittling on about, your gel pen can, in fact, we'll dry it and I'll show you what I mean. So that's what we've now got, and we did that in real time together. Didn't take much time, Maria, did it?
No, quick.
And definitely that's it. That's what we used. That one chipped sapphire, even a dodgy chipped sapphire that I put me little hook and loop stuff on for a while, then I was like, it didn't work. So I took it off, and that's what happened. Yeah, there you go. A moment in the life of. So that's ready, good to go. The white gel pen, I like to use a thicker nib white gel pen if possible. I've even used a a correction pen, like a Tipexy type correction pen sometimes, because they're a little bit thicker, and sometimes if they're too thin a nib, they're really hard, especially if your card's slightly damp. None of them work very well because they don't the friction doesn't allow the ball to allow the ink to flow out, if you know what I mean. So just beware of that. Sometimes it's not the pen's fault, it's you being impatient. So that's what you can do there. We can add a little bit of highlight if you want to put a little bit on these little bits and pieces like that.
Could you use gouache to do that? You
could use gouache. Gouache is my go-to. I mean, I often use gouache more than I use my white gel pen, and that's what gouache looks like. It's an opaque watercolour. So what you would do is you would just pop a little bit. Don't put much out because you really don't use a lot of it, because a good quality one will have more pigment in it. It's like when you go and you go to your B&Q or your DIY shop and you buy your paint for your walls, and the expensive stuff you get like one little tin, or you can get 10 gallons, massive thing you can have a bath in, and you go bargain, and then you realise it's completely transparent. You've got to do like 10 layers of it, and it still doesn't look great. Whereas the little tin, if I'd gone for that, one coat, jobs are good. That's what you're paying for when you get your good quality paints like the gouache. It's more opaque, and the good thing is it's very flexible. By that I mean, if you want it to look a little bit lighter but not white, you can just add a bit of water and it'll just lighten that area and brush over it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you see it's much more job done quicker, thank you very much, and a little bit whiter, because you can splodge it on a bit easier. Right, so next thing with that baby is the glitterage. Now here's the other. This is not I don't know if it's a money saver, it might not be, but it's definitely a sanity saver for me, because I am not the best person at glitter controlage, right? Maria will tell you that, Willow will tell you that. Anyone who comes into the house during the Christmas months, usually July, will know that, because everything's blinging. We're eating it and crunchy, it's like extra fibre in everything we're eating. Yeah.
Even the dog twinkles.
She glistens. We don't lose her very much in the dark though, do we? I mean, she's good to spot. So I like to use a good glitter glue, and you know what, the clear ones. The things with, if you're using something like Stickles or any of the the other ones, your tonic or anything like that, check out the glitters as well. That's a little tip, because some of them look kind of goldy. See that one in the middle? Think it's clear? It's not. It looks goldy colour. Stardust, crystal, whatever. Well, let's use a bit of crystal. And thing is as well with your glitter glue, and you didn't know this, Maria, did you?
No.
Because back in the day, when we used a lot of these when they were first new, you would know about the Stickles trick. The Stickles trick is not to use Stickles all over something. It's to put a little bit on, and this is a money saver, and then you just tap it, because there's so much glitter in that one little concentrated splodge of glue that you don't need to have it, squeeze it out so it covers the whole area. You just need to cover a little bit and then tap it, and you've got it more than enough bling over that area. I don't know if you can see that there. When it's still wet, it's hard to get the light. We had this trouble the other day. Maybe it's the light. Well, lights. We need to change all the light in, Maria. Everything needs to change, right?
I can see that.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's and that's what I did with this one here. Coming back to it. Whoop, coming back. So this is just, just to as a base really to show you. So there's that base there. Now I'm not even going to put that on. Let's just show you what it looked like. Look, you don't even need that silver underneath. I think it still looks gorgeous like that. That's the middle bit there with imagine we just stamped it. I like to have it a bit paler. So if I'm using chipped sapphire on the outside, I would use maybe, a stormy sky or something in the centre, which is more muted, and push it back a little bit. We got the little bob in there and a bit of the old holly. And there's your card, and that there is what I would absolutely do, as a time saver, money saver, but that looks really cool. Now, the next thing is different types of garlands and different kinds of colouring in. If you're using like a dip, let me grab this. These are the bits I'm going to show you. All right, so another wow card, and this is an absolute glitter fest. So I had to, as you know how rubbish I am with glitter, had to find a way of containing this for everyone's sake, probably within about a 3-mile radius. The fallout was that big with my glitter lack of control. So I've got that silver base again. This baby here, this started off with something, you know, we're talking about happy accidents, right? This was one I was not happy and I wasn't laughing. It was just an accident. All right. Let me. I've got a centre for this. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute while I look. I'm looking and I'll find it. Right, that'll do. All right, we're good. All right, Maria, we're good. We're good. We're good. I'm going to pop that in there. Can you see how if you keep your centre, you've got the exact middle there to go in? So imagine that's like. I had a blue card, yeah, and I thought, right, I know the quickest way to add glitter that's in a contained way is going to be with a glittery embossing powder. Da-da-da. And that's what I did. And I used one that I thought looked quite cool. It was called Icicle. And when I put it on this blue card, it looked, it was not impressive at all. It was just dull. It didn't show up. So what I did after that, and this is so don't waste what you've done. Stand back, have a little think. I used my chipped sapphire around the outside. So if you look, I've got like an ombre effect on that background. And what happens is when you've embossed an area, the ink, the embossed area actually repels the water-based transparent distress ink. So you end up with something that looks better, way better than it did had I gone with the plan originally that I had in my head. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, right, so that I was happy with. Then, for me, this is like as blingy as I get. Little gems in the middle. So, again, I bought in bulk and bought loads of them on a little sheet of paper and they're already pre-stuck. That, seriously, for me, a pre-stuck gem is a thing of beauty and wonder. Because to not have to get your glue out and stick it and wait for it to stick. So yeah, there were little pre-stuck ones. I still had them stuck all over me. I still looked like Dougal from Father Ted. Now, this little thing here is another thing I'm going to talk about on, we're going to come on to glycerin. So I used my Versamark, as you would with all of that, to do the, to ink up the stamp, then apply my embossing powder and heat it, as you would think. Yeah, job's a good one. According to plan. But for these little things here, where I wanted them full on glitter, all glittery, they started off as a bit of just plain card, right? Plain card. They weren't on a glittery card. They were just stamped again with a distress ink, blended, but then completely blinged. I didn't use my precious ink pad for that. I want my ink pad for stamping. I'm going to show you what I did for that one. So this is a money saver and a time saver, and we're going to do it the same with these babies here. So if we pick up a couple, let me pick up a couple of snowflakes and we're going to colour them. I've already coloured, bear with, we have one there and one there. Let's do these little ones here. Right, so I'm going to get my glycerin and I'm going to splodge a little bit on the thing. This is just regular glycerin you get at your, in fact it's Maria's glycerin, as you can see.
I wonder
but don't tell her, see nothing, you didn't see it here. Thank you very much. I just put it in these little bottles to make it easier to use. Okay, right, and then we want a flat brush, so any flat brush like that. And we are going to just paint a bit of glycerin on like this. Look how quick that is. And look at how I'm not using all my ink, my Versamark ink, or whatever ink pad you use. I'm just press it down and pick up the glitter and whatever. I'm literally, it's as quick as this. If you want to bake it quick, I use a bigger brush. It's water soluble, so it's going to clean off your mat really easily. Thank you very much. Let's try a white one even. Let's do a white one.
So that's just coloured crafting card and white crafting card.
And white crafting card, that's it. Just matte card, Maria, right?
Yeah.
And so it's saving you money on your glitter card, right? So, you know, you cut out something on your glitter card and you've got a lot of waste if it's a fine, detailed image like this is. You know, there's a lot of throwaway on that. Whereas if you just cut them out, have that cut in like the wind session, like I said, and just cut out, you know, white card, coloured card, but just matte card. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to wipe that off there. That'll go in my pot to wash. That's water soluble, that's clean now, so that's good. Then I'm going to get my piece of embossing card, not embossing card, my card that contains my embossing powder. I've got my clear sparkle here, and I'm going to just tip that all over my white card, like that. And I mean, you know how many gorgeous embossing powders you get for Christmas. Oh, I could use one of the other ones I've got ready. Oh, on the white. Oh, Maria. Let's forget all this and we'll do it all again. Just kidding. Just kidding. She would have cried. Or shouted or something. I'm going for cry. I'm hoping for cry. So what I'll do now is just continue with this. Right. Fab. And can you see how well that's stuck? It hasn't missed any. Where sometimes when you use it with the ink pad and you press them onto the ink pad, direct to paper, you miss bits, it's a bit, with this, not so much. So I need to find, where's my pokey tool? Can you see a pokey tool anywhere, Maria? I'll use my scissors instead. Oh, it was right there, I was using it. You know the pointy thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is, I've got it. That's it. It's just, all I'm going to do, all I want this for is just to hold them steady, like that. You know when you emboss them? So always when you're embossing, let your heat gun get up to heat. Don't hold your heat gun over your vents either, because that makes it overheat and it'll cut out on you. So switch it on and let it get up to heat for a little minute, few seconds, and then use it. And that's usually when you get less warping of the card and a more even melt of your embossing powder. Look at that. Sorted. So now I've got any colour I've got on my CraftStash. Could be a pot, it could be a patterned card if I wanted. Anything you've got, simple as that. Bit of glycerin, paint it on, add your embossing powder. You use far less than you think with your embossing powder because it only clings. No matter how much you put on, it only holds what it's going to hold. The rest goes back in the thing, as you know. If you're a newbie, you might not know that. And then you have lovely, looks like glitter card hearts. So if we look at, basically that was the finish on the I had before, just the matte finish, but this is the new finish. Can we see are you getting the bling?
Yeah, it's really twinkly.
Is it?
Yeah.
If we put on a bit of dark card, let's get this card back here. So let's get that back there. Let's get the blingy one. We'll not put the silver on the background, just put that there so you can see what it looks like. And then you've got your layered, look, all these pretty layered options you've got. You can just pop on. We've got, oh, there's another pretty colour like I did earlier. Ah, there's the blue one I was going to do. I was going to do a dark blue one. That would look cool. But look at that one.
I'll come in really close for you.
Isn't that lovely? Thank you. See, I'll try not to get my head in there, Maria, because that's what I normally do. And then look, you've got a lovely big rosette burst of your lovely snowflakey glittery card. Now I'll tell you what so this one I did exactly the same. So I stamped and blended it with the embossing powder, and sorry, the embossing ink, and then I literally, when it was dry, heat set it, painted the whole thing with that brush with the glycerin, and did the whole the bit that we've just seen with the clear sparkle embossing powder. And we've got the doves there now, all blingy too. So hopefully that was a few little time savers, money savers, extra little tips with the glycerin there. And if you haven't got any glycerin yet, just go and get some. It's dead cheap. Get to Boots. You'll get a big bottle that you'll be able to fill that about 3 times with. For it was about £2. It might have gone up, even if it's 3. You're going to get it. Lasts you for ages, doesn't it, Maria?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So hopefully that's been beneficial for you, lovelies, and it's not just a thing for this year's Christmas. It's every Christmas that comes, where if you're like me, you want something that's going to help you out, save you a bit of time, and make it a little bit still get the wow factor, but the wow factor in a more affordable, time efficient fashion. Merry Christmas all. It's been lovely. Look after yourselves and take care, and we'll see you later.